Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining me today. I'm excited to introduce our topic, toxic women every man must be cautious of. In this presentation, we'll explore the different types of toxic women that can impact a man's peace, dignity, and emotional well-being. We'll discuss how attraction can sometimes be influenced by past wounds or unmet needs, but also highlight the importance of recognizing red flags early on. Remember, some relationships don't just end badly, they can slowly ruin you. We'll also look at what healthy relationships require, like emotional maturity, reciprocity, and accountability, and why many good men find themselves entangled with women whose behavior drains their energy and destabilizes their lives. So, let's dive in and learn how to protect ourselves from these toxic influences. At first, the chaos may feel exciting, even addictive. It's tempting to think that the unpredictability adds passion to the relationship. But the truth is, emotional volatility, no matter how thrilling it seems initially, always leads to emotional exhaustion. What looks like passion is actually instability, and that instability can cost you your peace of mind, your confidence, and sometimes even your safety. You might notice erratic behavior that escalates unexpectedly, making it hard to predict what's coming next. There could be irrational accusations that seem baseless, but are deeply emotional and intense. Rage outbursts may happen suddenly, and violent mood swings can flip from one extreme to another in a matter of moments. Within just the first few months, you might already be feeling the strain. She might warn you from the start, saying things like, "I'm crazy, I'm difficult, you'll regret being with me." She often shares dramatic stories about her exes, claiming they were all abusers, stalkers, or men who just couldn't handle her. This pattern of emotional volatility isn't sustainable, and it's important to recognize these signs early on. It's not about love or passion. It's about recognizing instability that can have serious consequences. So, what we're really seeing here is a woman who isn't interested in a partner in the traditional sense. She doesn't want someone to share her life with, but rather someone who will simply comply with her wishes. And if you stay around her long enough, you might find yourself losing who you are. At first, it might seem like she's just trying to help you, maybe guiding you or giving advice. But over time, your world begins to shrink. Your independence starts to disappear, and your self-respect begins to erode. She begins to control every aspect of your life: how you should live, work, dress, eat, and even how you think. She decides where you can go, who you can talk to, and what you're allowed to do. This is the kind of woman who gradually takes over your entire existence, and before you know it, she's in command of your life completely. This is what we're calling the micromanager, and it's a powerful but dangerous form of control that can quietly strip away your autonomy. Entitlement is not confidence. It's actually quite the opposite. It's a sign of emotional immaturity and deep-rooted narcissism. When someone feels entitled, they tend to believe they deserve everything without giving anything back. It's like they're constantly demanding your time, money, effort, and heart, but in return, all they give you is ingratitude, endless demands, and emotional exhaustion. You might hear phrases like, "You owe me," or "Why aren't you doing more?" or "What have you done for me lately?" These little words reveal a lot about their mindset. Her attitude often shifts to one where she believes she deserves everything: attention, affection, resources, yet contributes almost nothing in return. At first, she might love bomb you with charm and affection, making you feel special and appreciated. But once she's secured your commitment, the dynamic changes. It becomes a one-way street. Nothing you do seems ever enough for her. No matter how much you give, it's never sufficient. This pattern is a clear sign of entitlement and emotional immaturity, and it's important to recognize it early in the relationship. She is in love with the idea of love, not with you. She may be discarding, blaming, accusing, or devaluing you, often without even realizing it. When the illusion breaks, she tends to turn to the next thing that feeds her fantasy. She insists that you are different, special, unique. But in reality, you are just the next chapter in her romantic fantasy cycle. The truth is, she cannot easily transition into the reality of a long-term partnership. She's often caught in the idealization phase, the fantasy stage, the thrill of falling in love. And because of that, she loves the excitement of the chase and the newness, rather than the actual relationship. Her dating history tends to be a never-ending rotation of failed relationships, each ending dramatically. This pattern reflects her struggle to build lasting, meaningful connections, as she's more drawn to the illusion than the reality. If she is not actively taking responsibility for her healing, the relationship will only grow more destructive. You cannot save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Simply loving her harder won't heal her. You might see her blame everyone else instead of doing the work herself. She may use trauma as an excuse for abusive behavior or minimize her issues altogether. Refusing therapy and avoiding personal growth only keep things stuck. This woman might be struggling deeply. Trauma is real, pain is real. But the key point here is that responsibility is non-negotiable. Without her owning her part, true healing can't happen. Remember, recognizing trauma and pain is important, but so is taking accountability for one's actions. When you're with someone primarily for resources, it's important to recognize that this kind of relationship is often unstable. As soon as the resources start to dry up or slow down, the woman who's with you for those resources will likely leave. This kind of relationship lacks true intimacy, trust, or depth. It's hollow at its core. Some men pursue these arrangements for ego, to boost their image, or for validation, but the outcome is usually predictable. You end up with love that depends solely on what you provide materially, rather than genuine emotional connection. It can also create manipulation disguised as desire, where affection is transactional rather than heartfelt. Whether the situation is mild or extreme, the pattern remains the same. She's more interested in your wallet than your heart. This is what we often refer to as the gold digger or sugar baby dynamic, a relationship driven by material needs rather than emotional bonds. It's a clear example of how superficial motives can undermine authentic connection, and it ties back to the overall theme of understanding what genuine relationships are truly about. This slide highlights how this kind of dynamic can really drain your mental health and chip away at your sense of self-worth. When you're trying to help, support, or fix her problems, it might seem like you're making progress at first. But often, she just creates more chaos, more drama, and more crises. And eventually, she shifts the blame onto you, saying you're not doing enough. This sets up an endless cycle. She falls into self-pity, you become her emotional rescuer, and the chaos continues. It's a pattern that feeds itself, making it hard to break free. She thrives on this chaos. Every story she tells ends with her suffering. She blames others for her failures, and every problem becomes a way for her to seek more sympathy and attention. This is what we call the chronic victim pattern. It's important to recognize because it keeps you stuck in this unhealthy cycle, and understanding it is the first step toward changing it. A relationship cannot thrive when one person demands emotional oxygen 24/7. Instead of feeling like a partner, she begins to feel more like a responsibility. And when you inevitably grow tired or need space, she might interpret that as rejection. This constant demand for your time, energy, and presence, being always available, constantly providing emotional caretaking, validation, and reassurance, can become overwhelming. What she needs at first seems harmless: attention, validation, a sense of being special. But over time, her dependence on these things can feel suffocating. Now, let's talk about the woman who is dependent and insecure. She often keeps multiple male orbiters around her. It's important to understand she's not necessarily ready for true commitment. She's actually more committed to the attention she receives than to any real relationship. She wants the benefits of exclusivity, but still desires the freedom of singlehood. She might get jealous if you give another woman even a small amount of attention she herself distributes to other men. And she thrives on double standards, often saying things like, "I don't owe you boundaries," or "You're just insecure," or "He's just a friend." Her circle includes emotional backups, random guys she entertains for fun, flirty coworkers, exes. These are often her friends that she relies on for validation. She needs constant validation from other men to feel alive, to feel wanted. This pattern keeps her craving attention and reassurance, often at the expense of genuine connection. Unless she actively seeks therapy, this dynamic will continue to undermine your stability and emotional balance. You might find yourself exhausted from trying to decode her behavior, constantly questioning your own worth and what you might be doing wrong. She keeps you emotionally hooked by being just close enough to give you hope, but distant enough to hold onto her power. This pattern is often linked to avoidant attachment, emotional manipulation, and a fear of commitment. You notice inconsistency, excuses, and mixed signals that keep you on a roller coaster. This cycle is unpredictable. She disappears when you seek closeness and then reappears when you start to pull away. It's a push-pull dynamic that creates confusion and emotional chaos. Recognizing this pattern is key because without awareness, it's easy to get trapped in the cycle. If you want to break free from this, it's essential to understand these underlying patterns and seek the right support, like therapy, to address them. Otherwise, this kind of relationship dynamic can erode your confidence and emotional well-being over time.